building sustainable lifestyle choices, how changing our habits impact the whole world. First of all is that trash does not disappear. Second is one solution does not fit all. Third, anything that we were learning, we can also unlearn. I would just like to start that I'm actually an AIESEC alumni myself, proud one. And I will tell you a little bit about my AIESEC journey because I was born and raised in Romania. And while I was a student, I joined AIESEC, and it gave me the opportunity to go around the world and travel meaningfully. I've been to countless conferences with AIESEC. I've learned so many things, and I was a trainer myself at some point. And I can also say that the first picture is from the last conference that I organized in AIESEC Norway in 2014. And the second picture is from my internship in Istanbul. And the third picture is after a conference in India. And the other picture, the last picture, is with my friends from Portugal, where I was also organizing a conference, and we shared very good memories. So when I say AIESEC changed my life, it's not an overreaction. It really did, because it allowed me to discover different cultures, different working styles. It allowed me to work in teams with very different people, and it allowed me to become a very flexible person. A person that easily adapts to new working styles, cultures, and so on. So that is why AIESEC changed my life. I also, after my last AIESEC experience, which was in AIESEC Norway, I stayed in Norway, so I am now in Norway. Since then, I was working as a social worker, and then I was working in event and project management, and lately with sustainability and innovation. I worked for Red Cross, for Young Sustainable Impact, for EAT Foundation, and now I work for Business for Peace Foundation, which is a foundation that recognizes business-worthy leaders around the world. And every year we have a summit, if times allow, in Oslo, where people from around the world are recognized as business-worthy leaders. And we give this award to them from unbiased commission, completely separate from the foundation. And yeah, you've heard a lot about me, but I would also like to know a little bit more about yourselves. So if you can comment on the chat box, what are you guys studying, just to understand a little bit your profile. It would be helpful. And also if you guys want to turn your cameras on to check out your faces. Psychology, nice. I would also like to mention, obviously, that what I'm going to present in this session is completely about my own views and does not represent the organization I'm working for. Yeah, business. Yeah, I was also a business administration major actually, so that was my main study. Nice. So Stephanie, maybe we have a lot in common, because actually, yeah, right now I'm very much into sustainability, and sustainability wasn't a thing while I was studying, but now there are several opportunities that you have available for studying. Nice. Okay, you can keep writing and I will move on. With my slides. Yes. So you all know, right, about the Sustainable Development Goals, right? Yes, show of hands. And someone said about Sustainable Development Goals that this is the world's most important to-do list. There is no other way we can continue life on the planet without achieving the Sustainable Development Goals. We all know about 2030 and 2 degrees turning point, where if the weather warms with 2 degrees, then the current one, the life on the planet will be insufferable for us. And that will affect our livelihoods, our food systems, the air we breathe, etc. So indeed, the Sustainable Development Goals are very important for us to work on, and there are several organizations that work on this. So that is why I chose to focus on this. What do you think? If you want to either comment on the chat or also want to say by voice, what do you think are the most pressing issues at the moment? I'm having trouble seeing the chat.
Climate change.
Climate change, yeah.
Loss of biodiversity.
Please just go one by one, because I actually, yes, please touch it. Besides climate change, what do you think are the most pressing issues at the moment?
I think loss of biodiversity.
Indeed. Yes, without biodiversity, we cannot really, we are part of the biodiversity system. And without that, we cannot really continue life on the planet. And I spent actually several years of trying to find organizations that work for the planet. And it wasn't easy to find the different foundations or organizations that are part of the solutions and not part of the problem. And there are. So if you need any help in regards to that, please let me know. And I also want to mention that, yes, my session is about the individual choices we make every day, but I am very much aware that we cannot solve the climate crisis alone. We do need corporations and governments. We need governments to change policies. We need corporations to completely change their practices, to have a circular approach regarding the economy, and we cannot solve this alone. So I'm very much aware that this session today is just, let's say, a starting point for us all, but sometimes change does come from activism and from us being aware of the problems that we're facing. So that is why I chose to have this. And I just want to start by taking a look at your trash. And everyone is separating, or hopefully you have the chance, because sometimes we don't get the chance to separate. The local community doesn't allow that, right? So I just want some answers, if you guys are kind enough. Which trash gets the fastest full?
Stephanie here says plastic, and restavfall, which is like the rest of the trash that doesn't get separated. So
I don't know why, if in presenter view I don't see the, it's very difficult for me to see the chat, but I will try. Yeah, so usually plastic. It also happens to me that it's the fastest that gets in, and we all know this is a major problem, and this affects the way we live, and it affects the planet as well. And do you know how much of your trash is compostable or biodegradable? Yeah, you can use the chat for this. Or
do you mean like percentage, or like
yes, so for example, if you throw things, how many of those things are compostable or biodegradable?
Not very many.
Right. Yeah. And then we also need to understand, maybe you also guys, if I'm not saying new information, if I'm not telling, please speak up and join the conversation and share your thoughts about this, because we do need to think a little bit about what is biodegradable and what is compostable. So I got this image, and biodegradable plastic can also be biodegradable, but because we know plastic gets into that small, it breaks into that small, which is called microplastics, right? And that takes hundreds of years to disappear. So the best products out there are definitely compostable, because they are part of our natural systems, right? I think someone was studying natural resources, so I'm pretty sure you know more about this, right? If you would like to share, please let me know. And indeed, for all these things to break down, it requires heat, water, oxygen, and at the current moment, the planet cannot, let's say, swallow all of our trash, which is heartbreaking, but at the same time, we did not, if you think about our lifestyle and how it changed, we did not have these habits a long time ago. Let's say 30, 40 years ago, we did not have available plastic everywhere, right? And then obviously we have to change our practices and see what we can do about this. And obviously recycling does not work. Trash doesn't magically disappear. We are part of, there is just one planet we are living on. Well, at least at the moment, I don't know what the future will hold. So trash doesn't disappear. And that is why, let me know in the comments if you know about circular economy. because most of what we are using today is part of linear economy, right? And we take, we produce, we use, we throw. Recycling, yes, recycling does work, but did you know that only 14% of the plastic is actually recycled, and new plastic is way cheaper than recycled plastic, and it takes a huge amount of effort to recycle the plastic. That is why we need a circular approach. And if you want, I can also, at the end of the presentation, I will also give I can also give some resources that you can follow on Instagram or TikTok or wherever you are on social media. So indeed, we need to redesign everything and think how we can find ways that have products and whatever we're using to have a longer lifespan. It's very important. And this is what circular economy is. I encourage you to follow Ellen MacArthur Foundation. They are focused on circular economy. So yes, design out waste and pollution. In trash, that as I was saying, trash doesn't disappear. So we really need to rethink our waste management practices and see how we can reduce our waste. That is why I said, if you look at your trash, which one gets the fullest, which is plastic, which is a very, very harmful for the planet. And we need to keep the products and materials in use as much as possible and regenerate natural systems. That means that we need to first clean up. We still need to do a lot of cleanup. We see a lot of beaches and a lot of landfills that are full of trash, and again, that doesn't disappear. That is why we really need to come up with solutions for those things. And what does it mean, the circular economy? And if you would like to chip in with comments about this, please raise your hand, and I would love to have a discussion with you about this. We need to develop products that last longer, and we need to develop and to promote the repair part. Again, this is the circular approach. And we also need to invest in infrastructure for that. I remember back in my country, we used to have a lot of repair shops, a lot of where you can repair your watch, you can repair your shoes, you can, most of those things have disappeared because of the linear approach, and it takes, it's better to have new stuff all the time. And now if I go anywhere around the city, it's very difficult to either repair my clothes, repair my shoes, or repair my watch, electronics, etc. There still are some stores, but they are very isolated. So I can also give you list of what circular projects are, and it comes from the beginning. So if you think of opening the company, always when you make a decision to use a product, you have to instead of thinking about let's say sell as many as possible, the main thing is to have a long lifespan of that product. That is the most important thing. And how that is impacting the products and services. For example, textile face masks that you wash and reuse. These only when possible. I don't want to, these are personal choices again, and I don't want to impose anything on anyone. And I am aware that, for example, now if you want to fly, they only accept surgical masks. So I am not trying to tell you that this is the only thing you can use. Well, I put there banana bread, but obviously it's something that it's made with brown bananas, right? And then secondhand clothes, which are very popular. I've seen in Norway, Frelsesarmen is a very popular store now, which has secondhand clothes, repaired electronics, and for example, for women, the organic cup. I also, this is actually my favorite part, because I love to cook, and I love to use everything and get creative in the kitchen and use everything that is. So maybe you already know this, but indeed I can tell you that we can make soup out of veggie scraps, or even for example, if you have shrimps or anything, the shrimp shell have a lot of flavor in them, and a lot of you can make a very good soup out of those. And indeed you can throw them afterwards, but before you can use them twice, not just eating the shrimps. Then of course we can use the stale bread. We can revive the stale bread with maybe some wine, some tomato sauce. The aquafaba, if you didn't know, this is the water from the canned chickpeas, and if you use a mixer, it's called vegan whipped cream. The coffee grounds, of course, you can use a few coffee grounds for pancakes, or you can put them in soil, or even in smoothies sometimes. The carrot green tops, you can make a pesto. The broccoli stems, also you can make soup out of it, or vegetarian balls, and so on. The eggshells are also good for soil. So let me know which of these ideas have you used already, and if you have more tips, if you want to share.
Yeah, there's some ideas in the chat.
Yeah.
I don't know if you see them, but
yes. Now I can see the chat finally.
Yeah. About fermentation.
Yes.
To minimize waste, and also about overripe food having the most flavor.
Indeed. What do you use fermentation for? Who said that? Sverre. What do you use fermentation for? Do you make cheese? Do you make beer? Or?
So I brew some on root vegetables. I often put some ale yeast in, making it brew with some sugar. Cabbages are amazing for sauerkraut and for kimchi, for those who like that. Made mustard from sauerkraut juice and everything, and also having a sourdough starter going is also just amazing way of eating healthier bread, using more older wheats and everything, and it's so easy. Just when it started, and you just leave it there for however long you like.
Yeah, and actually the fermented food is very, very good for your gut health. They do wonders for that. Actually, our gut need those probiotics from fermented food. So it's a great way. It's a win-win situation. I also yes, someone is giving us the Instagram piece of mutton, and I also follow Max Lamana. He's a low food waste chef, and he is having many great recipes on Instagram. So feel free to follow them. And then obviously there are so many tips, but I also try to put some of them here. Always be prepared to have a bag with you. This is my number one rule. You never go shopping unprepared. So when you go shopping, you have a tote bag, or if you go out for a walk, you make sure you have a reusable water bottle or coffee cup with you. I know in some parts of the world that this is very difficult, and some coffee shops are refusing to give for you to go with your own coffee cup to get your coffee. But there are some coffee shops who accept that. So always try to check in with them before. And my motto is also, if it's winter outside, it's also winter inside. That means that we don't turn on the heat too much. I think maybe 21, 22 degrees, it's enough. If we live in winter places, in winter season, which a place where we have winter, then it means that we also have some wool socks on, right? Of course, if possible, because this is a very personal thing and I don't want to interfere, and before you choose a diet, you should talk to a nutritionist. Eat less meat. We already know that is the number one thing we can all do for a better planet. Sometimes I also go with my own container for takeout food, if possible. Again, because of COVID, we some shops don't accept that. Yes, Fretex is a very good resource. I use also because this is actually, if you actually have a business idea, this is the right time to produce and come up on the market with sustainable products. I use the dish soap as a soap bar. I use the shampoo as a soap bar. There's bamboo toothbrushes, but there are also now brushes that are, you change only the cap of the toothbrush, which is a very good resource. And unfortunately, indeed, these products do cost a little bit more, but when you think about their lifespan, it's worth it. So it's also important that if it's also important not to, if you already have toothbrushes, for example, plastic, you shouldn't immediately buy the bamboo toothbrushes. First, we use what we have, and then we buy the sustainable products. Indeed, for example, toothbrushes, and there's a lot of plastics that can be recycled. So this recycling myth has to go away, and we should rethink the way we live. Then you can make a window cleaner, for example, on your own. I made you take the citrus peel from oranges, clementines, mandarin. You take the citrus peel, you put them with half part vinegar, half part water. You leave them there for 2 weeks, and you can also use some oils to give a different flavor, and that makes a great window cleaner after 2 weeks. So I've used it myself, so I highly recommend it. Then we can have, for example, I also have, if you live in a new place and you don't have a vase, this used to be a tomato sauce bottle, so we don't need to always buy a vase or something that we don't have. We need to look around our house and get creative and see what we have. I also have most of my plants here in the window in former yogurt boxes, so upcycling is definitely the way to go. Also to clean the house, I'm using old textiles, and it's a great way we can get creative in this matter. And of course, in Norway we are very lucky to have Finn, where we can have used furniture or used sports skis, sport clothes, etc. So equipment. So that is an amazing resource. So I'm sure in your countries you have that website where people are using used stuff. And of course, if possible, to use transportation. If you would like to share what you guys are doing and where you are, what do you think about these ideas, I would be happy to hear. If you want to raise your hand, then you can talk. Yes.
Stephanie raised her hands.
Yeah, please go.
Okay. I had something to say about like upcycling, or generally just reusing old clothes. But okay, so where I'm from, old clothes tend to flood markets back at home. So there's this huge exportation of used clothes, old clothes from northern countries to southern countries. So people argue and say that it's a sustainable source of fashion, but it's not. It's sort of choking the economy. It's causing a lot of waste that can be seen everywhere. What do you think? How do you think that can be better managed?
Yes, fast fashion is a huge problem, and I think we don't have enough time to talk how many problems there are. First of all, to produce fast fashion, it's very unethical. There are people in low-income countries that are suffering, and they are overworked. They are not paid overtime. The work conditions there are very bad, and there are different NGOs that work with ethical trade, and indeed companies need to do a better work in the way, first of all, to produce the clothes, second of all, how to increase the lifespan. Because they produce it cheap, they also sell it very cheap, which is easier for us to buy new than to actually repair our clothes or buy secondhand and so on. Then also we send, some countries send the clothes to the global south, which affects the local economy there, and it really affects the landfills and so on. The main way here is, first of all, as consumers, what we can do is to buy secondhand, and as individuals, we can also put pressure on companies to have ethical working places and have ethical practices. There are some NGOs that work towards that, but at the moment the situation is quite serious, unfortunately. I don't have myself a solution for that, but I do know that a lot of companies are starting. For example, in Norway, I know there's a company called Fjong, where you can actually rent clothes. For example, if you want to go for a formal dinner, which requires formal attire, you can actually rent the clothes, or you can rent the bags. So you don't actually buy and use once. So there are these practices. Unfortunately, these practices are at local level, and they are not expanded. But we should have better ethical trade. I'm sorry, I don't have a clear solution for this globally. Sahil, yeah.
Yeah, it's a good answer. Thank you.
Yeah, we can use public transport, and we can reduce the use of electricity. So that
Indeed, also this goes again to the circular approach. You design a product that is having a lifespan. That also includes when you have, for example, a phone that the battery will last longer, or you can actually change the battery, and it's cheaper to change the battery than buy a new phone. So
yeah.
there are several options here. Yeah. Anyone else would like to share, or Sahil, do you have any other practices?
Let me think.
I can share if
Sure.
there's still space. Okay, so I saw online that there's like a way of restoring your carrots or making them last longer. And I think you mentioned the upcycling with the jars and stuff like that. So whenever there's tomato paste that I've already used and clean up and wash, then I use that. But of course, like even though I have that in mind and honest here, I tend to forget what I have in the fridge. So I think just having a follow up on my behavior as well would be a nice way for me to maintain that kind of like sustainability behavior. So the motivation is there, and I've started the act, but I guess like the follow through would be a step for me to reflect.
Yes, once you start having this, it's gonna be easier to practice it. You shouldn't put, and this is very important. If you start doing these things, maybe all these things, everything that is on the slide at the moment is actually overwhelming. But at the same time, we should think that we don't have to do them at the same time, all of them. We can start small and then grow into the habits of having different practices and so on. And at the moment we also have the time to do that, but indeed when life will be a little bit different, hopefully soon, we should also think about these habits that are already in our lifestyle. So I don't have the habit to go unprepared to the grocery store anymore without a plastic bag. When I say unprepared, it's also and also another tip is that you shouldn't go hungry to buy food, because then you should also you are buying more food which is actually going to get bad afterwards. And honestly, I have to admit that I enjoy better, let's say, half empty fridge or a quarter full fridge, because that makes me more creative to use everything I have in the cupboards. And when I see a lot of food, my mindset goes instantly, oh my God, we have to cook it before it goes bad, and so on. So indeed, we have the freezer, we can use that. But once you grow into these habits, you shouldn't put a lot of pressure and do that. But yes, please let me know if you have any other practices. Sverre, yes.
I would recommend maybe going on Finn looking for a stick blender, because then you can make so much amazing soup with just any vegetables you find in your fridge that have been starting to get soft, so you don't want to eat it raw or something. Just put it in maybe get some stock, maybe some soya sauce or something, and then just boil the heck out of it, and then just stick blend it, and some butter, some cream, depending on what you're making. It's so simple, and if you toss a couple of potatoes in there and have some nice bread, then you have a full meal.
Right. So it's very important to honestly, you don't have to know all these things. There's social media, and there's YouTube, and you can find all these things and practices on YouTube and social media. So I'm curious, do you follow any chefs or any influencers that are using sustainable practices? Please raise your hand and share. Yeah, Amelie.
Yeah, some of my friends made Instagram accounts called Gradighetsbetempere. I don't know if you've heard of those.
No, but you can put it in the chat so then everyone knows about them.
Yeah, and it's about living more sustainable, living a life with less greed for more, but using what you have, and it's really, really inspiring. Also, I see somebody in chat writing Allt jag kan. It's also like a zero waste account.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing. And don't forget to Allt jag kan, yeah. Anyone else would like to share? Okay. Then I actually do have, if you would like, obviously this depends on you, it's totally up to you. These are the resources I have. They also have TikTok, most probably. I don't have it, but I did learn a lot, as I've mentioned to you before. I did learn a lot from social media about sustainable practices in my daily life, and also about sustainable products. And I do encourage you to follow some of these if you are interested to follow a sustainable lifestyle. And if you already know about them, it's actually, some of them are quite funny as well, and everything is made up for, let's say, to enjoy. It's not something, let's say, we have to do it. It's not something, it's a very personal, again, it's very personal choice, and I cannot really say this is the best way. I think everyone can choose the way their habits are, but let me know if you would like to share about any other practices that you know. Okay. Nice.
I just want to add one more thing, because I know, at least for me, one of the things that was keeping me back was soda. I'm really fond of soda, but starting to make well, I don't drive, so starting to make like ginger beer and kombucha at home is super. It's so much better than soda. You get that fizziness, you get that sugar, and it's a really nice, and it's healthy for you. So it's a really nice, just getting a bucket, making overly simple, and you can make big bunches at once.
Can you walk us through the process a little bit, and what flavors do you use in kombucha?
So in kombucha, I just bought a bottle of kombucha, mixed it with some sweet tea that I made. No specific recipe, I just made a lot of it. Put it in a big glass jar, and mixed it with the kombucha when it was about 40 degrees, and then keeping a lid on, but with a towel underneath, so there's possible for air to come in, and eventually you will get this. After a couple of weeks, you will get this big or thin layer of bacteria. It's called a SCOBY. It looks really bad, but it's supposed to be this way. It looks like a layer of mold on top, but it's really good. And then you just take some out, fill some up, and it's gonna grow to eventually become a big cake almost. And for ginger ale, you just take lots of ginger, blend it with some sugar and water. I make big portions, so I usually make 1 kilo of ginger with 500 grams of sugar, and to 5 liters or about 5 liters of water. And then you have a big portion of this, and then just boil it up, let it set for 15 minutes, get the ginger out, and then just go, I think Co-op, Europrice has this ale yeast that you just put tiny bit of it in, and then it just becomes nice sweet ginger ale, and just let it stand for 7 days. Put it in bottles, and then just put in your fridge, or let them ferment a bit in the bottles. Then you will get more fizziness.
And you have to consume it in 1 week or so, right?
Yeah, it's a fresh, yeah. So you should consume it in a couple of weeks, 1 to 2 weeks. And yeah, and you can taste before you bottle it if you need more sugar or anything. And yes, it does have some alcohol in it. Both of them have very small amount. Depending on how long you let it stay, you can get more or less alcohol, but it's not something you should drive on. You shouldn't drive after drinking it.
Yeah.
That's my main rule. It's not gonna get you wasted. I don't think. I haven't made with enough alcohol to get drunk,
Yeah.
but you just be aware that there is some alcohol in it.
But can you share with us what was the trigger for you to change the habit from soft drinks to kombucha, for example, or ginger ale?
For me, it's, well, Corona, having a lot of free time, starting the fermentation lifestyle, and then looking into what is possible, and then cleaning out the pantry just to start on my fermentation project, and then just doing more and more, and eventually filling the pantry up for different projects that I have. It's there's a good guy on YouTube. It's part of the Bon Appetit Test Check Kitchen. It's called Brad, and it's alive. It's a cool dude to kind of watch a couple of things he does.
That's cool. Thanks for sharing. Well, maybe you can put him the name in the chat box so people know. Yes, Joachim.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can see you though. Yes,
Okay.
now we can see you.
Oh, I'm using my phone actually, so So just like the last person shared, I think personally trying to go the sustainability way, it requires a lot actually. Yeah, I know I used to be a soda person, Coke, Sprite, all of these. I think sometime 2017, 18, but then I think going into 2020, I said no more soda. I wasn't going to drink any soda anymore. So it was a struggle. It wasn't easy, but right now the cravings are no longer there. I no longer drink soda, and I also said to myself, well, while growing up, like, it was a desire to be a vegetarian. I practiced for a few months, but then I couldn't go on with it. It was quite difficult for my family, actually, because I was like the odd number, Every other person was doing this, and they make food for the family, and you say, oh, you don't eat this. So I think I was there for 6 months. Then I had to like consider my family again, my mom, and people preparing the meal. So I had to go back to, non-vegetarian life. But currently I said, okay, I have plans to like stop eating meat somehow. So I started out with beef. It wasn't also easy, but currently I can confidently say I no longer eat that, actually, at the moment. I'm currently working on stopping, whether it's white meat, chicken, eat more of fish. And I have plans in the future as well to like also cut down in that. And well, I have a friend who is in the habit of growing flowers, and all sort of small trees. So if you use any plastic cup, it could be for the plastic cup for coffee, for yogurt, or ice cream or anything. So what she does is, she has a way of arranging these things. And she uses a tea bag, or you have some fruits, and the parts that we couldn't eat. So she just gathers these things and keeps throwing them in the in those plastic cups. And some time ago she sent me a picture, and there were a lot of plants, and she had taken some to the market to sell, vegetables and all kinds. And she started up a small garden using these things, and it's really amazing. So well, I said, myself, I'll also try to see how I can go her way to see if I can adopt what she's doing, because I think it's really amazing. And although it's not here, it's somewhere else that I observed that in the Pacific, where usually when they eat coconuts, they just threw away those things, and someone just came up like, oh, these things, we can use this to grow flowers. And rather than using some of those pots, ceramics and whatever, they have started to use coconuts, like after taking out the water, so that's what most people are doing there now. And it's really amazing. I think it's very healthy for the environment. It's very nice. So I think, these things are quite good. So this is just a few I just want to share with you guys. Thank you.
Actually the coconuts are usually going to waste after we're using and that is a great way to find something that goes to waste, and you can actually make something out of it, right?
Yeah. And I think I remember something else. I think in my country, Nigeria, there is this man, some of these plastic bottles you see, plastic water bottles, he built a 3-bedroom apartment with that. There is a way, it was arranged, and the building is completed. And so, I mean, some of these things, these innovative ideas, I think, they are things that, for me, they are amazing, when I see them.
Yeah, but still there's way too many plastic bottles that we can build, I think, an entire city with maybe 5 cities with the entire plastic bottles that there are on the market.
I agree. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing. Indeed, if someone else wants to share, feel free. What I wanted to talk about this is that the PAN system, but the PAN system, the Sverre is saying about the PAN system. In Norway, we have this system that if you buy a plastic bottle, you pay a little bit extra, 2 crowns extra, and you get it back if you take the plastic bottle back. So it's like going back system. And then the problem with the PAN system is that most of the Western countries are shipping the plastic either in Asia or in Africa, and those countries don't have the infrastructure to handle that much plastic, and it's a great problem for their health. And it's a great problem for the ethical point of view and also social justice. I can actually recommend you the Story of Plastic documentary if you want to see it. I can also type it here so you don't forget. So indeed, the pant system that we use in Norway and the return system of the plastic is an option, but that the problem is that even if that plastic is not in Norway or in other countries, it doesn't mean that it doesn't go somewhere else, in the landfills, in the water systems, in their oceans, and so on. And also to export that plastic also takes a lot of resources, and there's a carbon footprint to export that plastic. So yes, PAN system is let's say short-term solution, but I don't see it as a long-term solution. The long-term solution is for us not to produce plastic anymore, or to produce it without producing single-use plastic, because we still need to produce plastic. But yeah, yes, Sahil, sorry.
So Canada used to send like their waste to Philippines, but recently 2 years back they like had some dispute, and the president of Philippines, I guess Rodrigo Duterte, sent all the waste to back to Canada, and that is what happening from the developed countries are sending their waste to the like less developed countries, and that is why the people are suffering there. And it's environmental hazard as well as for the people, and they're suffering for like a lot of diseases for this, and we have to end it, and we have to manage our waste very well and dispose it in a like healthy way. And the like I think it's more important to like produce less or use don't use use plastic at all, or have its alternative. Like in India they're using uh, like paper bags instead of like plastic bags. They started using it, and if they want to use the plastic bags, they started charging for it, like uh, some in Indian rupees, they're like 4 or 5 rupees for a bag. So I think it's better to charge for it rather than giving it for free, so that people get discouraged to use all these things.
Yes, that is also unfortunately a short-term solution and not a long-term solution, but
Exactly.
step by step we will get there.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Stephanie.
Yeah, so I had something interesting to say about the plastics production. So I'm not certain that we will ever stop producing plastic, but I do know that the world can conform to reducing plastic. So I can give an example of my home country. So I'm from Kenya, and in my country we have a total ban on plastic. So it was implemented, I think, 3-4 years ago. So plastic was banned completely. So if you're found using single-use plastic, you can be jailed or given some very hefty fines. But it came at a cost. So even though we're not allowed to use plastic, we pay extra for packaging bags. So now everyone who goes shopping goes with the sisal bags or the carton boxes, or you pay for the knitted bags. So there is a cost. So it's been abolished, but it's expensive, but it also proves that people will conform to change. So I think that we may not be able to stop it entirely, but there is hope that we will be able to embrace a zero-use plastic economy one day. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing. And indeed, monetizing the plastic is a short-term solution, but I do believe that long-term we can have different solutions, meaning no single-use plastic. However, that is very difficult. That is a political debate. That is a lot of pushing towards investors and other key players around the world. But my main point with this is we didn't have this opportunity. We didn't have this single-use plastic 50 years ago, and somehow we managed. Indeed, lifestyle has changed completely, right? Let's say 180 degrees. But that doesn't, the way we learned how to use plastic, or the way we learned how to adapt different habits, the same way we can adapt to a more sustainable lifestyle. And it's all about us unlearning these practices that are harming the environment. And I can actually recommend this book. It's called Atomic Habits by James Clear. I can write it to you, and this applies to any part of your life that you would like to change. It's how to build habits that last. Usually, in order to build a new habit in your life, it takes around 60 hours. So after practicing for 60 hours, something that usually becomes your habit. And I do believe that individually we can shift our habits. It is a little bit difficult to do it on a collective side, because it's not only up to us. At the moment we are consumers, we can request better practices from corporations, but at the same time change can come bottom up, but at the same time we also need those offers, right? So it needs work from both sides. So if you would like to change any of your habits, whether eating healthy or starting to exercise, or starting totally something new that you always wanted to have, I actually recommend. And because for most of us it's very difficult to start a new habit, and I recommend this book, Atomic Habits. I will write it in the chat box. And please let me know. I am very curious, for example, if you guys have changed anything in the last 2-3 years since the climate emergency became a global part of the global news.
Started
Yeah.
I started taking public transport more often.
Yeah. Thank you. Well, now because of COVID, is a little bit difficult to have that
Yes.
option. Yeah. Amalie?
I did the switch from using like single-use period products to the Organica, and also I have been focusing on eating less meat, both because it is better for the environment, but also because it's better for the wallets and
Your health.
yeah, the health as well. So yeah.
And can you share with us a little bit how was that shift for you? If it came easy, or if you miss meat, or?
I mean, I still eat meat. I just eat less of it, so I don't usually eat it on like a day-to-day basis. So for me, it's quite simple because I don't feel like the need for it anymore. At least not like processed meat and red meat as I used to. But I mean, I feel like it was a pretty easy change.
Okay, so it wasn't difficult.
No.
Because usually how we are used to, or if we are used to pulse since we are kids, or grandiosa, or etc., then those habits are kind of ingrained in our whatever we are used to in childhood. It's the most difficult to actually change. So I'm very curious if you are saying that wasn't the case this time.
No, at least not in a very like distinctive way. So I didn't have like a big feeling of change. Yeah.
Thanks. Sverre, please.
I just want to show some appreciation to the flexitarian lifestyle. So I usually, like for me, unless I catch it in the 50% bin, I never buy meat. But it's harder when I'm back home with my parents because they eat lots of meat, and buy lots of meat. But it's locally sourced, so it's better. By living on a farm, it's locally sourced. So, but yeah, there's way more meat when I'm back home compared to when I'm in my student apartment, and then I don't eat meat for weeks. But yeah, I really appreciate the flexitarian lifestyle and just trying to reduce without having the absolutes.
Right. I share this myself. I am also flexitarian. I do enjoy fish and shellfish still. And indeed, when I go home to my parents, it's a little bit difficult to control everything that you're eating, and also have calm meal or so on. So I do embrace the flexitarian lifestyle because it gives more space to live in our meat eating world. So yeah, but I'm curious if you guys have any questions for me.
Can you hear me? I just want to ask a question. It may not sound really interesting, but I want to ask. I am a chemist, and I understand the importance of equilibrium in the world, in every habitat. So just like our planet, if people don't die, there'll be chaos, because we may not have enough space to accommodate people if there is no death. Like the last person said, yeah, I admire the lifestyle of vegetarians a lot. But then I ask myself this question sometimes: if nobody eats meat, the animals, for instance, what happens to the population? Because they keep like
Growing.
they keep coming, they keep reproducing, new ones keep coming and coming, and there are people, farmers, who are into maybe piggery or poultry and all of that. And so sometimes I ask, if, for instance, everybody says we no longer eat meat, the chickens, what happens to them? The lambs, and in terms of population, and trying to strike a balance in terms of equilibrium in the animal population, their own side. I mean, what do you think? How do you see this? I mean, it's quite, maybe it doesn't make sense, but I'm just trying to ask. It's a funny question, actually.
It does, because
No.
yeah.
Sorry,
Yeah, go
Christina,
ahead.
can I say something?
Yeah.
Yeah, Joaquin. It makes sense, and like I can give an example. Like if the population of tiger decreases, automatically the population of deer will increase, and they won't have enough food to feed themselves. So the balance will there will be no balance in the biodiversity, so it won't be good for the planet. So there is everything is well balanced, and it's not like if you stop eating meat, it will be everything will be good. No, it won't. But we'll have to keep a balance, rather than just eating a lot of meat. I don't eat a lot of meat, but I still eat something like beef or chicken or anything. But it's not like if you stop eating today and tomorrow everything will be solid. So it's very logical.
I have an
Thank you for raising this. Thank you.
I have an unpopular opinion about this topic. Okay, so I want to look at Joachim's question in two ways. So one would be the perspective that Sahil has given, that there has to be a balance in the animal kingdom. So this would be about the food web. If you have a small background in science, you'd know about the food web and food chains. If you take one character out, it sets a terrible balance, so one can proliferate. They become too many and completely destroy an entire ecosystem. So
exactly.
That's not a good thing. So the second perspective is in terms of diet. Yes, there's a huge call to shift diet from meat-based products to fish-based products, which seems to be the most environmentally friendly option. But it doesn't mean that we are completely cutting out meat products, because this would not be practical. There's a huge population of the world that is in an area where water bodies are not accessible. They cannot access diets that are fish-based or in some limited capacity plant-based. So this, I'm referring to all the dry regions of the world, in Latin America, in Asia, in Africa. These areas, the diet is literally limited to meat products. So when they're arguing about reducing meat-based products, it means that areas that have access to other dietary options should not entirely focus on this, because the amount of destruction that comes along with meat production is so huge, because it's not just what the animal is eating, it's where it's being put, how basically the entire value chain from producing an animal to the table, the farm to fork policy, it's devastating. So it's not completely eliminating the meat, the meat-based food for the whole world. It's just trying to encourage people who have access to alternatives to focus on those and, at least establish a balance. Otherwise, you're going to kill a third of the world's population if you say no meat. Yeah. Thank you.
Yes, I actually have, thank you for this. I actually have several ideas I would like to share. First of all, indeed, there has to be a balance. The reason why people are advocating to cut down meat, especially in the Western or global North, let's say so, it's because there are still, for example, in the Amazon, there is a lot of forest that is cut down in order to raise animals for human consumption. So the meat, while in some countries, while in some high-income countries, the meat production is lowering, but very slowly, very, very slowly. There is still a lot of people are eating meat and consuming meat, and the meat production is raising. That is why the people are advocating for the meat consumption to be lower, because we are still cutting down forests in order to produce meat. The other point is, indeed, I want to highlight, this is a very personal option. And before you take any decisions around your diet, I highly advise you to talk to a nutritionist, because everybody is different and everybody needs different nutrients. Indeed, there are countries where people depend on, they don't have access to plant-based proteins, and they do need the proteins from the meat consumption, right? And I do believe that we should cut down, because the meat production is raising. And the main problem, what you mentioned, Stephanie, is also that 2/3 of the grains produced in the world today, they are only for animal consumption. And that is, remember what I said, that it should be circular, the same way it should be circular biodiversity at the same time, right? So at the moment we are producing grains to feed the animals and to kill them, to eat them. But this is when we say we should cut down the meat consumption, we are talking about the meat consumption from those huge factories and those huge farms that are a huge that have a huge impact on the environment, right? We're not talking about most of the people are not talking about those parts of the world, the domestic, for example, if you have chickens in your yard, that is actually, let's say, a circular approach. In my household, we feed the children scraps of food, for example, or so whatever, it doesn't go to waste, it goes to the chickens, and then we get from the chickens eggs and so on. So that is a different approach. We're talking about stopping the deforestation for meat consumption at that level, at the macro level. Do you get my point? So indeed it needs to be a balance, but at the same time the Amazon is not going to regrow magically if we keep cutting it to grow, and this doesn't happen just in the Amazon, this happens all over the world. So the meat and the population is rising at the same time. I don't want to sound alarming, but one of the main reasons is in 2050 we will be 10 billion. Those are the predictions, and the planet at the moment cannot produce food with the current practices for more than 10 billion people in the world. And that is why we need the sustainability part of the way we produce food and the way we get our nutrients. So it's a long debate, and it's again, it's a personal choice, and I don't want to impose anything on anyone. But we do need to be conscious about what we are consuming every day. If you want to respond, I'm happy to hear your thoughts. No, you don't want. Stephanie, did you get my point? So it has to be a balance, indeed.
Yes, it has to be.
Yeah, I think that should be the emphasis, right?
Yeah, Sveta, you mentioned something?
Yeah, I'm mainly against the fabrication of animal, like you have them in big factories, giving them soy and grains which have never been in. So often in Norway we talk about this pride in Norwegian meat, Norwegian this, Norwegian that, but when you have them inside in a big factory just giving them soy and grains that are usually not from Norway, and slaughtering them when they're just very young, so that then you have this very bland meat which is the reason why everything tastes like chicken. Like this feeling of everything tastes like chicken. Yes, that's what grain-fed animals, young grain-fed animals taste like. Nothing. Not chicken doesn't taste like chicken. Not really. If you let them become a bit older, have them on more different. And yes, that means that proper meat is more expensive, but I think that meat should be a luxurious, something that should be good, something that is brought up with love, not produced in the hundreds, and something that you can spoil yourself with.
And also it's another huge issue is the hormones that are given to the cows in order to reproduce faster, and that has a toll on the human health. So it's not just the cows, the pork, the pigs, and the antibiotics is also a huge issue. So the way we raise animals, it's very important. People are actually advocating to reduce this because it becomes an issue that and from this goes another thing, the food waste. One third of the food we produce is just thrown away, and that takes a toll on the planet through carbon emissions, through methane release if you throw the food in the landfills, and the economical part of it. So it's a huge issue, and it's a huge debate, and I hope everyone can make their own choices, and everyone can have a nutritious diet that you can have every day, and be mindful about how our choices influence the environment at the same time, but always keep in mind your own health. Do you have any other questions or remarks? Joachim, you wanted to say something?
No, not really. Why I asked the question is I hear people, going about with several campaigns. And these campaigns are not based on the fact that, like everyone has really said, that we need to strike a balance, but it is pity, born out of pity, you know, like I see it as something abnormal that people begin to see animals like humans as well. You know, I'm not saying, you know, yeah. So such campaigns, for me, I don't really find such campaigns as, you know, interesting as they sound. You know, like you see people eat chicken and you say, no, you shouldn't kill these things. These are lives. They shouldn't be killed. They, you know, so they don't really have that scientific basis like we have just mentioned here. You know, if we keep all the chickens and the lambs and the goats, and I mean, it's going to be a very chaotic environment that we'll be having in our world. So yeah, that's one of the reasons I had to ask the question. And thank you everyone for your wonderful answers. I think I'm impressed. And yeah, the question, I think I'm clear. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm happy everyone got some good points from this conversation, and I'm happy you guys chipped in, because it's a huge debate, and there is not one solution that works for everyone. And indeed, there are some advocates that not all the messages that go around eating meat are actually working, and this is where we actually come in. We need to the way we choose for ourselves, is the same way we think for ourselves, and it's very important to have a critical thinking around everything that is fed to us through media, through social media, through different campaigns. It's very important for us to understand that there can be different resources of information, and then at the end of the day, I hope everyone has the freedom to choose for their own sake, because it is a very personal choice, and it's very important for us to think critically about every message that is fed to us, because smoking wasn't the problem until it was a problem. All these things, right? So it's the way different companies are advertising. It should be frowned upon, and it should be seen with a critical eye. It's very important for us to have that education around critical thinking, and have our own choices. And I do hope, I'm very much aware that in some parts of the world, people don't have their own choices, unfortunately, or their choices are limited. And we should work towards the fact that people should have multiple choices around the food we eat, the transportation we use, the healthcare we have access to. I do hope it becomes we work towards this social justice part, and the privileges one have will translate to privileges all over the world. So it's a very big discussion, and very big debate. But yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, that was from my side. That was it from my side. We are. If you have any other remarks or questions, please let me know. You can also find me on LinkedIn, and do connect with me on LinkedIn, and I'm happy to be connected with you. And if you need anything, or you would like this presentation, I'm sure the people from AIESEC will send it to you afterwards. So do get in touch.